Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. For today's review, we'll be taking a look at the PNSO Doyle, the Triceratops. This model came out, I think, a couple years ago. I ended up getting mine off eBay. I think I paid around 55 bucks. Right now, this model is available on Amazon, I think for $59.99 free shipping, 2 days if you're Prime. Comes in a very nice collector's box showcasing it. It is in 1/35 scale. The back of the box shows you Doyle and Wilson. They released a T-Rex that is in scale with this model. I haven't picked this T-Rex up yet for whatever reason. It's just always something I'm trying to get, so sometimes I pass other things up. I will eventually try to get this. And inside the box it comes with a postcard of Doyle, and that is a very interesting interpretation of a Triceratops. I mean, it is absolutely scary looking. I mean, the face just looks like a skull with those piercing red eyes covered in quills. I mean, it's definitely different. I do like this photo. I mean, it kind of looks like something from like a fantasy novel, like something maybe Skeletor should be riding around or something. So one thing I have noticed about this model when I got out of the box is that it varies much differently color-wise than the prototype on the box. I was a little disappointed with that. I mean, you can see a huge difference. I mean, the eye on the prototype is yellow. On this one, you got the demonic-looking red eye like Wilson does. The coloring on the back kind of looks like when you shine light through water, like that ripple effect. I mean, this has like some nice stripes and just very different looking. I'm a little disappointed how it turned out. I still like this model a lot. So let me get this box out of the way. So let me get this box out of the way, and we'll take a closer look at this model. So here is Doyle out of the box in full view. It's a nice active trotting pose that they have this sculpted in. Now, unlike the first few offerings from PNSO, what their claim to fame was these large hollow vinyl dinosaur models that are absolutely massive. This model is solid. It's made of PVC. Let me pop this guy off the base. He has a peg that holds him in. So as you can see, it's just a very, very well done Triceratops model. I mean, like I said earlier, you know, the color varies greatly from what is on the packaging. I mean, it is common for prototypes to be different than the final product, but this is vastly different in my opinion. But I still like it. It's still a very, very cool model. Very lifelike pose on it. So, moving on to the head, you notice those piercing red satanic eyes. Very similar to Wilson. Maybe, I guess they wanted them to match since they scaled with each other. Got this very nice frill with these false eye paintings. Very cool looking. And now the mouth on this is actually articulated, which you don't see too often on herbivore dinosaurs. And when you open it up, you get, you know, nice look at the gums, and you get some nice look at the teeth, which I painted very nicely. I do like this option that I can have them, you know, open up, running, screaming, maybe going to encounter a predator, protect a herd. So, back of the neck, you got that big, powerful Triceratops neck that connects to the frill. You know, with their older vinyl models, you know, there's a lot of seams. You can see where the model was attached. They're very visible. On this, much better job. I mean, obviously, you got the jaw articulation. That's not a big deal. You know, where the back of the frill connects, you don't see any seams. Now, the scales on this, they seem to have used the Lane Triceratops impressions to sculpt this model. I believe that specimen is on display in the Houston Science Museum. Safari Limited came out with a Triceratops last year that Doug Watson used the same scale impressions to sculpt his model. He does phenomenal work. I'll probably review that model sometime down the line. Feet are very accurate, except for, which foot is it? This one. One of these toes shouldn't be painted. It's painted on this side, but not on that one. It's not a big deal. You only notice if you're inspecting it closely. Now the back of the model is covered, has these little quills popping up. Now there's no evidence that Triceratops or some of the larger ceratopsians had quills. I mean, most of this quill data has come from Psittacosaurus being found with quills on its back, but it's not as out of control as what Collector does with their ceratopsian models with these big quill lines going down their back. I mean, this is very subtle, very cool. I do like that, something different. I like a lot of variety between my models. You can see the stomach sculpted with those big scales. There's the peg hole for the display base. He's actually got a little cloaca slit, his little butt. Having butts on your dinosaurs, I do like that. I know it sounds weird, but you know, you go to the dinosaur toy blog and people love their cloacas on their models. Moving on to the display base. It's a very nice base. It's made of hard plastic. It's not resin or anything. I mean, you can see it's a little hollow. So it looks like this is a dried, well, maybe a wet riverbed. You got like the rocks right here. You got a couple footprints for Doyle to put his feet on. There's the peg hole to hold him into place. A lot of moss. You got a tree stump right here, fallen log. A couple nicely painted rocks. It's definitely not on par with some of Rebor's bases. This actually kind of reminds me of the Ceratosaurus base that came with the Rebor one. Just has that vibe to it. Very nice base. Painted very well. Focus on some of the details. You can see that moss looks really, really nice. You can actually see the ripples in the mud from the water current. And he fits on the base. Just like I said earlier, just gotta insert the peg into this hole on the foot. Line him up with his footprints. And that looks great. Really like this model. I mean, 50, 60 bucks is kind of expensive, but we all have our own taste, what we want to spend our money on. I want to spend it on dinosaurs and Transformers that I have to hide once in a while from my wife. But yeah, I really like the active pose on this. This is a really great sculpt. I love my dinosaurs with display bases. I like that I have the option to take them off the display bases. I do love my collector models, but sometimes I wish I can remove them from the base. I know why they do that. For stability issues. They would never stand if they weren't on their base. But yeah, I really like this model. Like, my only gripe about it is what it looks like versus the prototype pick. I mean, the color's not awful. I just wish it looked like the picture more. I mean, you got this like green splotch on its thigh that always just seemed out of place to me, and it's nowhere to be seen on the packaging. But yeah, I mean, this is a great model to add to your collection. Excuse me, great model to add to your collection. And let me pull out PNSO's other Triceratops model. And here it is with PNSO's first Triceratops that came out. This was part of their large hollow vinyl figure line. I mean, this thing's bigger than Doyle and probably weighs half as much. But so that's how they scale together. And one more Triceratops. Here is the Safari Limited one I was talking about earlier that Doug Watson sculpted. Get it off the base again. And they scale real well together. I do like these two. I mean, you can see, well, I guess the scales were a little bit finer compared to Lane Impression versus what Safari did. They're much bigger on this one. So, very happy that PNSO finally came back from the dead and that we're finally getting new models, because after this guy came out, everything stopped. There was like a couple minis. I think they released a Memenchisaurus that had a limited release, and the company went through a couple problems, and communication started back up middle of last year, and they said, you know, beginning of 2019 they'll be having more models available. I did a video about that last week, about what's coming out. I already ordered some of their new models. I got the Ceratosaurus coming in and the Amargasaurus, so those should be here in about a week or so. So I'll be doing a review of those once those come in. So in closing, I do like this model a lot. If you like Triceratops, you like Ceratopsians, this is a good model to add to your collection. I mean, I keep hammering home how I'm not a big fan of the paint scheme. It's not terrible. I do like it. I just wish it looked like the photo on the box. So that's my review on this guy. And as always, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. See you for the next review.